On tonight's episode of 2 Valve GT, we're going to talk about projects. Now, I know this topic has been covered by a lot of YouTubers. I mean, just here recently, Brutal. I don't know if you guys are on his channel. You ought to go check him out. Pretty cool cat. Got a couple nice cars. He's got some nice content out there, but go check him out. He covered a little bit on this topic. I figured I'll bring it and put my 2 cents on it. But let's talk about project cars. I mean, none of this pertains to a Mustang. I mean, you could have anything. I mean, if you're into Chevy Chevettes, this guy just pertains to you. And nothing, don't take anything I'm going to tell you to heart. Just take it with a grain of salt. This is just my 2 cents, my take on it. But anyway, let's get into it. A lot of people, a lot of us out there, we can't really afford to go out and buy the biggest, baddest car on the market. We just can't do it. We just can't. A lot of us have to settle for a project, something that can be done over a period of time. Some's longer than others. Some projects you get, and we'll get into it. I got a couple good examples here right now that we'll get into. Just do a few things, fork a little green at it, and you got yourself a nice car. But then again, some of them, pretty much you're looking from a ground up build. But let's get into this. Right here, this is a buddy of mine's car. He bought this as a project. I showed you guys a little bit of this car, and excuse the mess in my garage. It's fucking disgusting out here, but I've been slammed at work, family stuff, just haven't had time to come out here and do some housework. But anyway, I introduced you guys to this car a few videos ago. It belongs to a buddy of mine that he bought. He bought it, got a decent deal on it. Can't remember the exact amount that he paid, but it wasn't bad. The car, from my understanding and from what I've seen of it, was a project that was started with great intentions, but for reasons the previous owner hurried up, slapped it together just to sell it, to get it running and sell it. And that's what we're doing to it. We're fixing the stuff that was just thrown at it to get it on the road, so we can take a decent car and make a nice car out of it. And this car, as you can clearly see, has some decent stuff on it. It's got a trick flow, track heat intake. It's got PI heads, PI cams. And check these out. I've never seen these. I've seen underdrive pulleys before, but I've never seen a set that's anodized red. And I put a water pump on it, so I had the water pump pulley off. That is not paint. That is like a factory installed coating. Let me know what you guys think. Who makes these? There's no markings on them, no nothing. I just think they look cool. They kind of accent the car really well. And I'm pretty sure this is an SR Performance cold air kit that's on it. It's got a Canton expansion tank, Moroso power steering tank. It has BBK full-length headers that you can't see. It has an Aeromotive fuel system. And here's fuel pressure gauge, adjustable regulator. It's got billet fuel rails. I mean, it's got some nice stuff. It's got 18-inch American Muscle wheels. I'm not sure what like model wheel it is, but you know, they're pretty decent. They look good. It's got off-road H-pipe, Flowmaster catback. Not sure of gears. I drove it once. It felt like it pulled a little hard, so it felt like it had some gears in it. Maybe 373s, but I don't know. It could still have the stock 327s in it. I don't know. I haven't dug that far into it. The inside is a nice car on the inside. Excuse the mess that's in here, because I am working on it. I mean, there's a wide band I have to install. The gauge we already mounted. But, you know, it's a decent car. Somebody at one point in time started to put black interior in it. They left the dash. He wants to change it. He wants to pull the whole dash out and replace it with a black dash. I'm trying to convince him into dyeing it with like some SEM interior paint. I've never used this stuff myself, but I've heard people doing it, and I've heard some good things about it. So we might give it a try. It does have these, I mean, that one's a little tore up, but it does have these like aftermarket, like knockoff Recaros in it. I think we're going to change them. We're going to put like stock seats in it. He's trying to find a set of black leathers, but if not, we're just going to get cloth ones and recover them. Now, for you guys that are into the bumps, this car does have a rear seat delete with two, one there, Pioneer 12s with an amp. Not sure what size the amp is, but you know, it's there. It don't sound bad. I mean, for what it is, not my thing, but I know some of you guys are into stuff like that. You know, short toe shifter, aftermarket head unit. I think it's a cheaper one. But I mean, the car, from what you can see, it's got tinted windows, but I mean, as you can tell, the tint is peeling. They need redone. The car has been painted pearl white. It looks good on here. There's a few spots that, you know, it needs a little love. It needs buffed, and a couple spots need touched up. The rear spoiler was deleted, which I like on this car. I like it. On my car, mine's just crystal white. I took it off. I didn't delete it. I just unbolted it one day and took it off. And I really didn't care for how it looked. I like it on some of these cars, on ones that are certain colors. Mine, I just wasn't sold on it, but I'm sold on this one. I think this one looks good. But anyway, we just got some few minor little things to do. We got some tidying up in the engine compartment we got to do. Like, we got to wire up the alternator on it. We made new fuel lines for it, ran fuel lines on it, because when he bought the car, I mounted the regulator right there where it is. You know, I bent the little bracket for it and just hung it right there and ran the lines to it. When he bought the car, it had like 5 feet of fuel line, and it come out of, you know, down there where they come out at, and just looped across the intake, and the regulator was just laying. Wasn't tied up, wasn't bolted to anything, just laying right where the clutch cable's at. And, you know, it's got some things like the power wire for the amp. How you like that fuse? Just a piece of copper wire. You know, we got to put a fuse in it. Route this wire a little bit. You know, take the cruise control cable. We're just going to eliminate it and take the module out of the inner fender over here. And he's going to buy headlights for it. I finally talked him into it. It's got some Amazon specials. You know, your halo projectors that they look cheap, They're one-piece design, which whether you put them in an SN95 or a Fox body, in my opinion, they look like crap. So I talked to him, and he's going to order, I think he actually did order them, the crystal clear Cobra headlights and marker lights for it. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the suspension on it, because as you can see, this one has your full drive ride height. We're going to lower the car. He's debating on whether he just wants to buy coil, like lowering coil springs, or put coilovers on it. So that's a project for later on. Right now, we're just mainly concerned on getting the car running, getting everything tied up on it where it needs to be, getting it presentable. And then we're going to address stuff like the suspension. Now, this is one way you can go about doing it. This car was just like a lost interest project. You know, he did pay a little bit of money for it, but it wasn't bad. And the car was decent. A little bit of work with very little money spent, considering the mods this car already has, can be made into a nice car. Now, right out here, I'll show you. I'm not going outside because it's a little chilly out tonight, and it's raining. This is this 2000 GT I've showed you guys in one of my other videos. We talked a little bit about it. I've decided we're going to put the car on the road. We're probably just going to put it on the road, clean it up, fix it up, make it a nice car, and flip it. I gave $500 for it. It's a 2000 GT 5-speed, and it's got some kind of a transmission issue. The previous owner told me it grinds going into gear. You can't get it into gear. Could be bad transmission. The clutch pedal feels a little funky in it, so it could be just a bad clutch, broken cable. I really haven't looked at it yet. But, and I mean, this car, again, it was bought hella cheap, and it's got some pretty good stuff on it. It's got 17x9 chrome Cobra R wheels on it. It's got long tube headers, off-road X-pipe, 3-inch off-road X-pipe I should have added, with a 3-inch Flowmaster catback. And it's got a BBK timing adjuster on it, underdrive pulleys, you know, just your basic bolt-ons, cold air kit, you know, all that good stuff. And I noticed the trim panel around the radio, the guy took the radio out of it, so the trim panel was laying on the passenger side seat. And I noticed down on the floor, you know, right in front of the short throw Steeda Triax shifter that's in it, was this little black box with wires that ran down through the little dust boot on the little floor pan that bolts on over top the shifter. It has a Brothers Performance speed cowl in it, which leads me to believe that car is possibly geared. What gears is in it, I do not know. Previous owner does not know. He bought the car with all the mods done to it, was how he bought it. And he drove it for a few years up till the clutch went out, tranny went out, whatever happened to it, he parked it. So we're going to fix this car. We're going to put it on the road and possibly flip it. Oh, and it does have a 2000 Cobra R hood. Now we'll talk about my car. My car is, as I said before, it's a 98, but it started life as a 98 3.8 liter screaming big block V6, what an automatic, 273 gears and a single track 75. It was bought. It's a one-owner car. Well, I'm now the third owner of the car. The gentleman I bought it off of is the mailman here in the town I live in. He bought the car off the original owner. He bought it for his grandson when his grandson turned 16. And his grandson wrecked it. Hydroplaned, spun the car around, and nosed it into a concrete wall. Didn't really hurt the car that bad. I mean, I've got pictures of it. I should have done it in this video, but I didn't. We'll get into my car a little further. Maybe in the next video, coming up soon, we'll do it. You know, I'll tell the story of mine. I'll get into a little bit right now. But I bought it in exchange for labor for putting brake lines on my mailman's Ford Taurus. I was going to charge him $250 to do it. That's what I got in the car. But anyway, we'll get into my car real quick here a little bit. Like I said, it's a 98 Mustang. It does have leather interior, black leather, chrome Terminator wheels. There's 17x9s, 245s in the front, 275 40s in the back, 1.25" wheel spacer. You know, it's full bolt on. You know, shorties, H-pipe, cat back. It's got Flowmasters, 410 gears, cold air kit, underdrives, PI swapped. You know, you name it. It's all the bolt-ons on it. Now, before I bought this car, for several years, I wanted a Mustang. I wanted a Mustang GT. I always had Fox bodies before, GTs, LXs. I had a couple 4-cylinder cars. I had a couple V8 cars. I even had a straight 6 car. Talk about a powerhouse. But I had a couple SN95s. I had a 94 GT convertible, and I had a 95 GT convertible. I always wanted a 4.6 5-speed car, because when I bought this car, everybody was like, dude, put a 5.0 in it. Coyote swap it. They said, no, let's put a 302 in that car. Which is I thought about doing. But, you know, wife, kids, you know, I got a 17-year-old, a soon-to-be 13-year-old, and a soon-to-be 1-year-old. So, you know, I got other priorities. So this car was done on the cheap, which is what my channel is about. We do it cheap here. We do it cheap, and we have a hell of a good time doing it. Anyway, we'll get back into this car. I think to date, that's, you know, buying the car, fixing the crash damage, painting it, doing the few mods that I've done to it to date, I think I have $2,800 in it. Where in the hell are you going to coyote swap any Mustang for $2,800? Nowhere that I know of. Is it the nicest car on the road? No. Is it the fastest car on the road? No. It's no coyote killer. It will run with 302 cars, you know, your Fox bodies and your early SN95s. It'll run with them. But the best part about this car, the best part, it's mine, it's paid for, and I built it. You know, I didn't go out, take daddy's blank check. I didn't go out, buy it. I built it. Me and my oldest son, he had been about 11 at the time, we built this car from the ground up. We went 2 streets down, drug his car home with a chain, with my old Ford Ranger pickup and a chain. Drug his car home, tore it apart, and built it. And when I could have just took the easy road out and just went out and bought one, but what's the fun in that? I mean, something 96 right here, that's still a fun project. I mean, I'd have bought that and built and finished it and built it. But anyway, let's get back to what we're originally discussing here. A project car, it can be anything you want it to be. And really, your imagination and your budget is the limit. You can go all out, or you can just, even if you buy a V6 car, not hating a 4-cylinder Mustang or a V6 Mustang. Those cars are bought because that's what they want, or that's what they can afford. And dude, there's no shame in it. I bought them, I drove them, and loved it. Because, I was in a Mustang. It's the way I see it. And the hell with the people that see different. Some of us don't have deep pockets. We can't go out and buy, Boss 302s and, the Shelbys and that stuff. We make do with what we got. And we have a hell of a time doing it. But anyway, what I'm wanting to tell you guys is, if you're looking for a project, like my buddy's 96, those cars that are out there, you just got to find them. And like my car, when it was brand new, was a V6 car. And I made it basically into a 98 GT. I don't go around telling everybody it's a GT. I just tell them I got a 98 Mustang. They ask, well, what motor is that? I said, 4.6. But they're out there. And if you guys, you guys are, I know a lot of you guys are wanting to buy a Mustang, and you're wanting to buy a V8 car. Okay, and then you start seeing, and you can thank Mecum Auctions and Barrett Jackson for the prices that these cars have gotten up to, and the people that bought them. They go on there, they sell cars. Granted, these are super low miles, super clean cars that are basically brand new, $30,000, $40,000. And people bought them. So, old Joe Blow down the street got his, his 91 Fox body Mustang. It's a clapped out bucket, thinks it's worth $5,000. And, somebody will come along eventually and say, okay, buddy, I'll give you $5,000 for it. And the car ain't worth $500. But, don't be afraid. Go out, if you find a super good deal on like a clean, like Fox body 4-cylinder car, or an SN95 with a V6, or a New Edge with a V6, whether it, it's crashed up a little bit, but fixable, got, them 3.8s, they're decent motors, but, they always blow head gasket or the heads crack on them. You can buy these cars for next to nothing. I don't know about your guys' area, but around here where I'm at, you can buy them for next to nothing. And usually, your 4-cylinder cars and your V6 cars were owned by women, which usually means the car wasn't rode hard and put away wet. They were usually pretty well taken care of and pretty well maintained. And with the right donor car, I had mine swapped over, and that included taking the dash out to change the dash harness, changing steering column, mounting the ECM, putting motor and transmission in it, putting a rear end in it. 2.5 days. it went from just a rolling chassis to a running, driving car. So don't be afraid to go out there and, you know, you're looking at the GTs and you're not finding nothing. All you're finding is something that's completely tore up and clapped out. When for a lot less money, you can buy a pretty clean V6 car, 4-cylinder car, whatever, and less money, buy it, V8 it, build it, and you save yourself some cash. You know, the cash you saved, go out, get your girl, take her out to dinner, you know, go buy a 12-pack with you and your buddies, you know, have a good old time. But that's really all I want to tell you, is you can do that and do it cheap. Because, you know, you buy a car, you know, you find a good deal on one. I'm not telling you, you know, don't do it. Because if it's a nice car and it's worth it, jump on it. But like, you know, this guy down the street, you know, he's got this 97 GT. You know, it's been 4-valve swapped. It's got 373 gears, 31 spline axles. Like, it's got a locker in it. It's got 18s on it with drag radials. You know, it's supercharged. He wants $5,000 for this car. You know, it's a pretty good deal. You know, if the car's clean and decent, I'd buy it. But in my opinion on this, what's the fun in it? You bought somebody else's project that either they beat the shit out of or they just lost interest in it. When you can buy it, and then at the end of the day, you know, you may not have the fastest or the nicest car, but you can go to the meets, you know, your Cars and Coffee, your little cruises, your car shows, and say, I built mine, you know, ground up. Not a nut, bolt I didn't touch on it. And that's something nobody will take that from you. But that's just my opinion. I've bought cars built. I have. But I've also built them. I find it more enjoyable to buy one that, you know, nobody wants and build it. Make it your own. But that's going to do it tonight. And I mean, we will, this is probably going to be a several video series here, because there's a lot you can discuss on this. You know, like how much is too much, how far is too far. You know, but we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. This is just part 1. We may break this down into 2 or 3, maybe 4 parts. I don't know yet. But we'll break it down. We'll talk about it some more. But anyway, you know, keep it real.